Hello, hello. Duncan is the
Hello.
first one here. And before we forget, Anna, hello, welcome. Anna has a book.
Right out the gate. Well, Duncan was super late last time, so.
I know he set his alarm today. Oh, that's a bunch of emojis that I don't know. I do want to say, so we're gonna put Anna on blast real quick. She does have a book if you guys want it. The link is down below. And she was the seller spotlight, right? Did I say that?
Yes, the Seller Spotlight podcast. And I sort of focusing in the episode about like being a therapist in my former life, my former career, and sort of the things that translate to working on eBay. We're having an eBay store from being a therapist and working with people. So kind of interesting. I actually haven't listened to it yet, but I loved talking to Georgia. Like, she's awesome, and we had a great talk. So I was like, however they edit this, it'll be great. I'm not worried about it.
Come down and visit you, or did you do it when we were out
No,
at?
it was afterwards, but it was just remote.
Oh, okay, so like over the did they like send you a mic or something?
Actually, no, because I have podcasted before, so I have my own gear. But they will send you a mic if you don't have one. Fun fact.
I know. Brian and I can't. Oh, Brian and Griff. We were talking because I was on the podcast. Their
Oh
podcast.
yeah, yeah.
And they're like, "We'll do a follow up," and I was like, "Oh, you'll fly me back out?" And they're like, "No." I was
like, not exactly.
So very exciting news. If you guys don't follow Anna, go check that out. Check out her social media content as well. We are here for general question and answers. I have quite a few questions.
Great.
To chat about, and I know you do as well. But the first one I want to bring up before I forget, because it's like currently happening right now, and I'm interested in your perspective, Duncan's, everybody else.
We'll see if I even know about it.
Well, no, I just have like a "what would you do on eBay" thing.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, well, it's happening. I should ask people. I'm trying to find the banner for people to ask questions. Okay.
Got you.
So international shipping, and this actually was on the thing. International shipping program is here.
Yes.
It's on my listings now. It's a slow rollout. I did a video, so it'll come out in like a week or two. You guys can see like what it's all about. It was not currently on this listing. So it's on eBay. It was sold in like December. It's international. So, they just got it. It's been like a month or whatever. And I do international standard.
Yeah, eBay international standard shipping or something.
Yeah, whatever, not the GSP, but so that's what we're sitting with it. It's like a $50 pair of shoes. They probably paid $50 to ship it as well.
Yeah.
And then a pair of shoes, pair of boots. I got an email today from them saying, hey, I got them. The heel is like completely ripped off, which I would not send.
Consent.
Yeah. And if I did, it would have been disclosed, right? Like I'm a seller, right? And they said that they're going to leave me negative feedback unless they get all of their money returned.
Okay. Well, that's called feedback extortion. And also, you don't have control over whether they get all their money returned, because half of their money went to an entity that never passes through your account because it's duties and ship and customs and international shipping stuff. So you get the money for your shipping label, and that's it. The rest of it gets paid to someone else. So you can't even guarantee that they get their money back.
Oh, so if I did give a return, they wouldn't even get the full shipping back.
Well, I don't know. I think it's up to eBay whether they do or not, but I would just tell them you need to go through the formal process to open a return case, because that's the only way you have a shot at getting all of your money back. I don't even have control over that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But also, I would ask them to send a picture of the packaging that they received the item in, because if eBay repacked it and broke it when they repacked it, you will know whether that was your packaging or not.
Oh, true. So what I am concerned with is they're filing it as an item not as described.
Right.
They haven't opened a return yet.
Right.
And normally I'd be like, open a return. I have free returns. Like, just do that. But with this, I'm like, well, what do I do? Because if they open a return, they open it as item not as described.
Right.
eBay's going to push it through. And now I'm having to pay for the shipping, and the shipping is $50.
Right.
So like, to me, I've had this happen one time in the past, and the item wasn't as much, that I just gave them their money back, because I was like, we can go through the whole return and I can pay for it, and I'm paying $30.
Thing.
Yeah.
But did they send you a picture?
They did.
Okay, so it really is broken.
I mean,
but you're like, it wasn't broken when I sent it.
And the human side of me wants to be like, well, this is wrong and I don't
Yeah.
agree with it. The business part of me wants to say, just here's your return,
Move
report
along.
you as a buyer and move on with my life. Because
Right.
I messaged eBay and was like, what are my options?
Yeah.
And they essentially were like, well, they haven't done it. They haven't filed a return yet, so we can't do anything yet. But we always suggest that you work with the buyer. And if it's not as described, essentially, we will push it through if they
Yeah.
do it. And you're not covered because it's an item not as described. And then I'm not covered. So if it was like free return or return, then it would like you could get the 50% off if it was a false. But I don't think that's true on international,
International.
right?
Right. And like I'm also not 100% sure how like insurance works on like across the different international options. Like I think that's something the new program's hopefully supposed to be streamlining. But I don't know. I probably would have done the same thing and just been like, "Hey eBay, what do I do? Because this is I did not send this messed up and what can be done, you know?"
Yeah, and they didn't. I'll probably just give it back. If you guys are watching and want to pipe in Duncan, Duncan has a couple questions, and this actually, unless there's something pressing that you wanted to talk about, but we kind of started this the last like 30 seconds last Friday.
Yeah.
And then we were like, we'll pick it up next week. So I think
Oh,
it's
well, I'm glad you remembered that because I did not.
I remember it because I was actually chatting with Duncan last night about
Oh,
it.
perfect.
Like, make sure to bring this up, and then he asked in this. So Duncan's keeping us honest here.
Thanks, Doug.
So he's saying, and I did a video last week or this week where my fees are like 27% right now because of promoted listings. But it's the only way that I can get the sales that I used to have. And so
Yeah.
he's asking, is eBay forcing sellers to use promoted listings or they get no sales?
I don't know if they get no sales, but it definitely makes it more competitive. It's like another lever for competition. But I guess like what you kind of said, I think you said this at the end last time of like, well, we'll just wait till all the other resellers quit and then and then we'll be back in the corner, you know. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Like it's like I guess in theory, like if everyone continues selling and continues increasing their promotions, then yeah. But I don't know if that's realistic to expect that there won't be other things at play and like other dynamics there.
Yeah. And I don't know that it's, and this is the struggle that I have is everyone is like, oh, it's eBay forcing you to do this.
Yeah.
eBay's big bad. And I don't think it is eBay. I think
No.
and they're offering the service, they're offering a marketing, right?
Right.
We can pay to market our stuff in a newspaper. We can pay to market our stuff on, like, you could put ads on social media and pay for
Right.
that. They're giving us the service. I think we are doing it to ourselves essentially, right? Like if
Yeah.
we all start promoting it, then the trending keeps going up and up to stay where it's
Yeah.
at. And I think also, especially in my realm, women's fashion, it's so saturated.
Yeah.
Right? It just keeps going up and up and up because someone's like, well, I'm going to do 9 and now nine's the new normal. And so then half of the people, like just to keep
Right.
on top when you have millions of sellers.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I guess like they're just none of them are easy, like, free lunch kind of things, but like anything that affects your um that like what am I saying? That like affects your sell through. There are sort of not equal opposites, but like there's other factors that other levers you could pull. Like, okay, well then just find rarer inventory that doesn't have as much competition. Well, that's difficult and challenging, of course. If we could all find the expensive rare stuff all the time, we wouldn't have to worry about promoting listings as much, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah. So
like,
that's a valid point for people who are new to promoted listings
yeah,
and selling. So like just to dig a little bit deeper
yeah,
on this point here. So promoted listings, like I'm in women's fashion and there's a million pairs of jeans. So for me to be seen the most in all these different realms, I
yeah,
promote my listings. If you are buying some rare thing and you're the only item on there, you're the only one there. So you
yeah.
don't have to pay. But now to Anna's point, you're
Or
spending hours sourcing for that
right.
one.
Or like, I mean, it's more complicated than I'm about to say it, but like for me, that was part of my strategy starting my store 5 years ago, having a huge inventory. Like I list it and forget it, right? I don't have to tinker with anything. I don't have to like spruce up my listings every 6 months. I don't sell similar. I didn't do anything. I'm just like keep piling on more. Eventually everything sells. And if my sell through is 2%, or 3%, like, well, 2 or 3% of 12,000 items is a lot more than 2 or 3% of 1,000 items. That was my logic, right? And
Yeah.
now I know there's a lot more nuance to it, but when I was starting, I didn't know any of that. And so that was my strategy. And it worked to a point, but also, like I'm saying, it's multifactorial and there's all these other layers to consider. But it
And I
just
think
means if you're going to like kind of like buck against promoted listings at all, instead of seeing it as a tool that you can or can't use, like make sure that you've looked at your other options for how you can increase your sell through and increase your visibility. It makes me think of like your local accident attorneys who have like 10 million billboards on the highway in your area. Like, if you get in an accident, who are you going to think of? Like that person whose billboard you've seen 9 gajillion times. Like, it's going to be, that they've paid for that promotion. So
right, where they're not the only lawyer in town, but the other lawyers are probably getting traffic a different way or charging more per hour or have built
right,
a
higher ASP. Yeah.
exactly. So I wanted to touch on something too, because you said, 5 years ago you were doing this strategy, and I think 5 years ago things have changed dramatically.
Oh, for sure.
So I think some of it's just like your strategy is changing, but I also think I was talking with Duncan about this last night that margins are getting slimmer and slimmer, not just from promoted listings, but like thrift stores
Yeah.
are starting to sell more. And we're getting, oh, I want to say this too, because next week, Lori and Yinka are coming on.
Yes.
So they are, well, Yinka's a lawyer. I don't think Lori is, but she works with government relations from eBay about all the stuff that's happening in legislation right now and how
Yeah.
difficult it's going to start getting for us as resellers. But you get a lot of, sorry, that just clicked as I was going to say this point too. You get the bigger companies are coming in and they're taking some of it away from us. Promoted, like it's all just getting harder. It's getting oversaturated. I think a lot of people during COVID were like, oh, I can just sell things out of my house. Like these resellers on social
Yeah.
media make it look so easy.
Right.
And that's my strategy is like, just wait for them to all fall off.
Well, and also that's true because it's not like a quick and easy buck. Like that's real. Like sometimes a certain item is, but like the overall business is not. If not, if you want to be like steady and sustainable, but also like there are business expenses across the board. So like if you're like, oh man, now I feel like I've been kind of like painted myself into this corner where now I have to promote a certain amount. Well, like maybe you could recoup that somewhere else. Like, just for example, one of the things that's on my list for 2023 once I get moved is to secure some sources of free shipping materials that I don't have here that I think I could probably find there just in the kind of smaller town environment. And that's like something that maybe I don't spend a ton of money on it, but
Yes.
50 or $100 a month, like I could put that money towards promoting my listings and selling more. So, like I would lean into it in that way. But
That's smart. And I don't think it's necessary. I think it's a very complex topic as
yeah,
we're going into. I don't see it as like the big bad eBay's out to get all of our money. I think they're giving us one extra tool to help. And then, like
yeah,
you said, we have to figure out how to fit it into our business. I do think it does make it a little bit harder for like the smaller type sellers because it's harder for them to
yeah.
absorb those
And it's like
costs.
another thing you have to like kind of master and like really understand and know how to apply it to your situation.
Yeah.
And change how you apply it to your situation as your situation changes. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
They added, so I'll do a video on it, but I was noticing in the promoted listing dashboard, they added a new metrics and it's like, I don't remember what it was, a return on investment basically, but they
Oh, yes. I almost texted you about that because I was like, that's so interesting. Like the average return on your dollar that you spend. Yeah.
yes, and it's very smart on eBay's
Yeah.
point because you can see that you're actually making money off of doing
Yes. Yeah.
because too often we're focused on like, oh, my fees have gone up 27%. And I talk to my
Yeah.
husband about this probably on a weekly basis. And I think I did a video too, but he's
And
like, Sarah,
he loves it. He is here for it.
he actually does all the bookkeeping. So like the financing part of it, he will talk
Yeah.
in depth about. But he's like, you spent 27% to make $100,000.
Right.
Right? Like we have to flip how we think about it. But I do think if it goes up to like 50%, like that's our entire margin.
Yeah. Right. Right. So
Like
you're like,
we're
I
not
do that.
right.
Right. So you have your limits for sure. But that's another thing. It's like in a lot of places, your margins are getting slimmer because your sources are charging more, but maybe there's ways to get, your margins back, or a way to increase your margins in the first place. Like, I don't know. There could be. But, you
And
have
this is why you need to know your numbers, friends.
yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No.
I always like to dig that point in whenever relevant. Especially
Like always relevant. Yeah.
yes. Well, yeah, agreed.
Amen.
Okay. I think unless people have questions, I think we've dug that one in real deep.
Great.
It's Duncan's
Duncan.
birthday this weekend, so happy birthday, Duncan. If I could sing, I would sing you a little tune. I feel like we need like a little happy birthday
Yes.
thing to show
Maybe
people.
Duncan should write and record a birthday song that we can use henceforth for anyone else whose birthday it is.
Yes, yes, I like it, Duncan. Just looked at my eBay quality listings report, friends. This is going away to if you didn't know,
Yes.
February 28th, I think is the day. Pull it. I don't know that pulling it every day is going to be helpful, but I would pull it once or twice before, especially if you're a new seller. Just like the quality listing report, the same as before. They want 30-day returns, offers on all items, 6 to 7% promoted listing for all, and SKU for new items. Not obeying. So what I'm going to say about this is, again, this isn't eBay being big bad. You have to do these things to sell on their platform. The listing quality report just compares your listings to the top 10% of sellers.
Right.
So the people who are in the top of your category are doing these things.
Right. And if you want to know how to be competitive, this is what you know. But if you don't care, then you don't care.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it. eBay's not saying if you don't do these, we're not going to sell your items. But if you're in like women's fashion and like top 10% of women's fashion is like 20,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. So if I want to even be remotely close, then I better get on these things.
Yeah.
If you're in a category that has 2 things in it, I mean, no, you probably don't. Okay.
I have a few things that are in those kind of categories, but most of my stuff's pretty has a healthy amount of competition. I will say that's why I promote almost all my listings.
It's gotta be. So I've done a couple of things, and I wanted to talk to you about it too, because I have 2,000 listings. You have 12,000 listings. Doing things like promoting your listings, you do it by category?
I do it across the board. All inventory, and if I set parameters, it's like the price point of the item. So like my stuff that's like over a couple $100, I don't promote as highly as I do everything that's under a couple $100.
But how do you go in? Like logistically, I'm just thinking about the time that it takes to do anything, because they do have parameters, but it still is time consuming, right?
Well, not really, because it's kind of like when you do a sale on your store and
Well, so this is where my question comes from.
Okay,
is
okay.
how you run a sale, because you can either blanket. There's 2 options, right? You can either blanket everything,
Yeah,
minus price point, or you can do 500 at a time.
right.
So
I generally always just do a blanket, but I might do like a couple different blankets for different cross sections based on price point.
okay, because that's the only filter that they have, right? If you blanket,
I think so.
or like new and used.
Yeah, I think you can do new and used, which is useless to me.
Yeah, me too. So I'm asking this because I was doing sales based off of time, because I never did sell similar.
Right.
So if I've had it for 3 years, I will discount it 75%. But then you're doing 500 at a time. And granted, it took me maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I did it.
Yeah.
Wasn't forever. But I was like, you know what? I'm doing sell similar now.
Hmm.
So like my new listings could be
the oldest thing that you have.
And so I was like, I'm just going to try a blanket statement.
Hmm.
The only thing I don't like is like my newest listings, I don't necessarily want on sale right away, but I don't know a way.
Oh yeah. I wonder, I thought there was some kind of a setting for that, but I don't know. I kind of price everything to like be on sale, and it takes a while. Like part of it, well, for me, it's like you can only have 10,000 things in a sale at a time, right? Like that's the maximum. And so there's always like a few things that are not on sale because they are not in the first 10,000 based on whatever. So,
Oh, so for you, it kind of automatically does it.
well, yeah, because it's like then if I list anything new, it's got to wait in line to get into the 10,000, but
yours, and I don't have 10,000. Someone's saying you can uncheck a box, so I'm actually going right now to look at it.
yeah, check it out. Because I was like, that sounds familiar. Like there's a thing you can do that says like, don't like adjust it for, I can't remember what it says because I never use it. I just have seen it.
I'm going to share my screen and we're going to walk through this together.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to put my glasses on in that case.
Oh, that's
I can actually read what's happening. Wow. Sorry about my hair being crazy today.
Oh, mine's like a...
Mine's so poofy. I don't understand. Down here. I need a haircut. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah. So if it's at the ends, you need it. Okay. So that's us. Is this it? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see. This is what I usually do.
Okay.
Time off. Offer free shipping on discounted items. No. So I'm going to leave this on.
Okay.
And do select items.
Okay.
So for those who are following, I have a full video on how to do a sale if you guys are watching for that purpose. I'm going to go through it quickly. But over here, you can select 500 items and you can do so many more filters. And then over here, we're talking about where you just do like
the blanket.
So it says want to exclude something.
Yeah, you can exclude specific items.
Which I don't want to do that. I don't care that much. So I click eBay categories. Oh, it won't let me do it because I have a sale running right now.
Oh, really? I do all inventory when I do mine. I don't know if that will.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, you're right.
But then, yeah. Oh, so what does the filter add? Is that new or used?
New manufactured before.
Yeah. So I think it's like the thing I'm thinking of says something like block revisions for blah, blah, blah. And it's on like the last page.
Okay, so we're going to pretend like we're doing a sale.
It might make you choose something.
Don't let me.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So
include, skip, or new items when they qualify. So you could just uncheck that and then the new items won't qualify.
Oh, God, you guys are so smart.
Yes. Oh, yeah, and then the block revisions was the one under it, which I don't care about either one of those, so that's why.
Well, so for other people watching, because that was helpful for me. So if you don't want a new item, so my items that are listed that week until I run another sale won't go on. Yes. Okay. Keep items in the sale and block revisions for price increases. So
Libs 307, thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Well, there you go, Sarah. Got any other? Can we solve the rest of the world's problems real quick?
Yes, if you guys have questions we can answer, let us know.
Yeah, typically.
Yes. Oh, that was awesome. Okay, that was my one question. The podcast, we can be done. I'm just kidding.
You're like, time
let's see. I have a philosophical question towards the end because it kind of plays into. I always like your little things at the very end.
You're like making me save a brain cell for the very last minute. It's okay.
The very end of the day on a Friday.
On a Friday.
So your ASP is going up?
Yes. Okay, so let me give a little backstory here. Yeah. So from about December, which I mentioned this I think last time too, but from about the week of Christmas until the middle of January, I was traveling or super sick or otherwise had my handling time long because of chaos and holidays. So this is finally like this week is finally the first like normal week of sales because also, I don't know if this is true also, I'm curious what you think about this, but I was told by a growth advisor at some point that basically when you're on time away, time away just adds handling time to whatever handling time you have assigned in your listings, be it per listing or business policies, right? It just adds onto it and it dynamically changes as your time away goes on. And it's great. But if you have that on, basically they told me your promoted listings are doing nothing because they're not going to promote things with a super long handling time. So my question is like, well then, okay. So I did this little experiment.
Yeah.
Kind of. I didn't really analyze any data about it, but I was like, well, if that's true, then, my sales shouldn't be abysmal because usually when I have time away on, I just leave everything as it is. I leave my promoted listings on. I'm like, whatever. But I turned off my promoted listings and I turned on time away and I sold like nothing. Like I got some of the days, January 1st, I sold 0 items.
Yeah, which for you is not. Yeah.
No, it just never happens. And so when I was actually back in Georgia, I turned it back on. I turned everything, my time away went off. I turned my promoted listings back on. And now it's like, it took a few days, it kind of feels like, but now things are kind of back to a normal level where my average like daily sales has been over $300 a day again. And it was like scraping the bottom of the barrel the whole time I was gone or sick or whatever. And so, but one thing that I noticed is that even when I was like barely selling stuff, it was all like really low dollar stuff. And now everything's back in gear.
Yeah.
And, I'm selling clothes that are 50 and $60 and, shoes and a couple things over $100. Like that's all just finally started happening again this week after about almost 4 whole weeks of not. So
So
like,
you had promoted listings turned off the entire time.
yeah, I
So I
think it was,
think it's
it was
probably
well, about a week of it when I was truly traveling is when I turned it off.
oh, so then you did have some time when you had time away, but you still had promoted listings on.
Yes.
So I would be interested to see what your chart looks like for your promoted listings and see if you
Yeah.
had you'll be able to see like what it's promoting it at and the traffic you're getting from it. And then when you turn time away off, if it completely tanks it, then what the growth advisor is saying is true.
Yeah.
I would venture to say that's not the case because you were doing better. You were
Yeah.
still doing
It
okay. I
seemed like
mean,
it was much worse when I turned off my promoted listings also. So I'm about to go in 10 days. I'm closing on a house in Illinois. And during that, I'll be gone for a week again. So I'm going to leave promoted on and put time away on and like have that to compare it to basically. So
yeah. Well, you can go in and look at like the historical data too.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
look,
I'll just need to see whenever the last time I had time away on and I didn't turn it off. I don't remember when that was, but it was, yeah, I guess it was probably in November. So maybe so. Maybe I can look at it.
I'm trying to I don't do time. I like never take time. I think the only time since I've been selling on eBay that I've actually like done a time away was when we did eBay Open.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and then we did a vacation, but then I just extended the handling time.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't do time away because I don't think it was
Yeah.
either it was new. I don't know what it is.
I really like time away. I was really bummed when I was told that about the promoted listings just not working because I was like, man, everything about it is so great. It changes dynamically. It sends a message to people every time they message you. Like it's great. And there used to be like vacation mode where there's just like a banner at the top of stuff that said you
Yeah.
were on vacation, but didn't like alert people that your handling time was longer, and it was always a pain. So I love it, but
Well, and I prefer it too because if you're like on a legit vacation or you're going to close on a house, you don't want to worry about it.
yeah,
You don't have to go in every day and remember to change the handling, which doesn't take long, but it is still something that you have to do every day.
yeah, it's like another little task for sure.
I think it's probably the promoted. I don't know. That's interesting.
I know.
Dibs is asking, what do you do for health insurance?
I have health insurance through my husband's job, which I always did. Even when I had my practice, I didn't have my own.
Yes, ditto. Which is one of the so we've talked about my husband works in corporate America and he's kind of like corporate America burnout. He's like,
Oh,
what happens if like you took off on the business and I stayed home with the kids? Like you could work a lot more if we did it together. And I'm like, do you know what health insurance for 5 people costs? I like seriously, I'm like, if we did
a
this,
lot.
yeah, we would have to go get like a part-time job at Target or something, strictly for the health insurance because
Yeah,
the highest cost. So I think when people do this full time, if they don't have
yeah,
someone who has health insurance, or
yeah,
like a single person and they can be a little bit more risky with it.
yeah. It's true. It's like that's a huge factor. I mean, yeah. Also, though, working part time at Target sounds great. I would do
I know. He would probably do like Best Buy or something, GameStop, some dorky.
that. GameStop. Yes, that would be like, let me restock shelves. That's all I want to do.
When does Friday live start? I thought it was 1 PST. Does it change week to week? So it's 1:45 Mountain Standard, which would be
Yeah,
almost 1 o'clock. But today we did a little early because we are leaving on it, me being me, like me, my family, we, not me and Anna together.
I'm gonna crash their vacation. They just don't know it yet.
You can. We do an experience for Christmas, and so we're going away to the mountains this weekend. So we're picking up the kids a few minutes early to get up and miss traffic.
Gonna be so
So
fun.
I know normally it's 1:45, but we did start early today. You can. So I usually book them out for like a month. And what I do for myself too is hit the notifications so I don't forget my own lives. But you can go in and hit the notifications and then you'll be notified when it happens. How high are you promoting, Anna? 57%?
How did you know? I'm just kidding. No. So vast majority of the store, I think the cap is at like 18 or 20%, which is really high, but you have to remember I'm in semi-liquidation mode because I'm getting ready to move. So when I get to where I'm going, it's gonna not be that high.
What do you
But
think you're going to stabilize at? Like once you're,
I don't know. I probably need to look at like what most of my items, like what the average is for the across the whole store and put it a couple points above that. I'm thinking probably like 14 or 15% still.
yeah, I'm at like, so over the holidays, because I was like, I'm hitting that 100,000 gross. I'm going to do it.
And I was like, I'm not.
I think I went up to like 25%. I was like, just whatever. And now I'm teetering. I'm messing with 15% to see if that's going to be.
Yeah.
It's still a lot though, because then it pushes you over 20% total fees.
Yeah.
Can you run multiple sales at the same time if you, I don't know, but like say sweaters 25%, jeans 10% or 10%? Yes.
So, because you can just do it by category, right?
Yeah. So like the screen that we showed maybe 5 minutes ago, you would pick the one on the left that says select the items. And then you can, the select the items, you can only do 500 at a time, but you can go in and you can do like age, you can do categories, you can do, or you could do like a blanket statement too on the categories, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I know for up to 500 you can, because that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. I was gonna say I am a blanket girl, so I don't know a lot of the other details. I never use them.
And I use the other one. So I know you can in the other one. How many items in your eBay store, Anna? Where are we sitting at? Are you going down?
Items we're sitting at 12,500. Listings we're sitting at about 11,500 ish.
Oh, so you're where you think you're going to be when you move? Where are you trying to get to?
I mean, hopefully under 11.
Yeah, to fit it all on the
Yeah.
truck.
Which can I just show you? This is what I've been doing all week, you guys. This is me reorganizing my bins and putting a new label system on all 300 something bins. So, been a
That's
fun time.
awful. What are you changing? Because it's getting
So,
set up?
yes, it's going to be a really different setup. It's going to be all in my basement and the ceilings are pretty low, and so it's going to be a lot of like a few stationary shelves and everything else is going to roll. So I'm going to have to like roll things out of the way all the time to like really pack it in like sardines, which works fine, and I've been test driving it in my storage units and it's going well. But that means
Like guns, though.
huh?
You're not like guns.
Yeah.
I mean to move, because how many
I'm hiding underneath this.
God.
But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of like pushing and pulling shelving, but it works and it's really efficient for space. But basically the way it is now, I can have my bins in numerical order, and the shelving like stacks I'm going to have there are so compact that it's going to make more sense, trust me on this one, it's going to make more sense to do like, here's shelf A, and on shelf A is like bins A1 through A16 or whatever, and then like by shelf letter, they always roughly stay in order, but like that block of all the A bins, like say, they don't have to be like, here's A1, here's A2, here's A3,
Yeah.
A4, 5, 6. Like they don't have to be neurotically in exact order, but the only place they could possibly be if they have an A on them is on that A shelf. So it's like a quick and dirty kind of way to like find a bin, but it's like there's still some macro structure to it. At this point, it's A through like T or something. I think I have 20 shelves.
And then you'll keep all the shelf, like it'll go A, B, C, like those will always
Yes, those will always be in order, but within the shelf, they don't have to be in exact order.
That's
because of how much everything has to move around. Because now it even will bother me when I'm like, oh, bin 41 is empty, so it's missing, and like now I have to like fill that exact size of bin to plug in that hole, or I have to shift every single thing around. Like it's just like annoying. So I don't shift it around, but then I'll have a weird bin in a random place for a while because everything's not exact. And the real kicker is there's 3 different bin sizes. So that's part of why it needs to be more flexible within each shelving unit. But that's super nerdy.
Oh, no, I think it's really helpful because someone last week, and I think you were going to talk about it, someone last week had a question, like a specific question about the system. I think oftentimes people talk like a high level, like I have a bin system, but it's helpful to hear like
Yeah, like how does it specifically work?
piece of it. Yeah.
I never thought that there could be anything that would be more efficient than just numbers in order. But it turns out that there are multiple layers to consider, and this is actually going to be quicker and easier to identify things. So I'm kind of excited about it, but I have had to like relabel every single bin, go in my spreadsheet and change all of those bin numbers with search and replace, which isn't a huge deal, but
No.
it's a project. And then, you know, physically look through and see if there's any anomalies or any like little hiccups that happened. Go back out, double check in person and make sure there's no anomalies or weird little hiccups that happened. So that was what I did today. I was cleaning house and answering mystery questions of a couple little anomalies that I found, but everything is well. And now I just have to update my spreadsheet one final time. So
That all sounds very awful. I put returns away today because I hate doing that. And I was like, I should, because I remember you saying this, I should put the return away and then make sure that it's on eBay as I put it away.
yeah,
And then I was like, well, that sounds like something I don't want to do.
that sounds like me and bulk shipping.
Oh my God, bulk shipping, Anna, come on.
Which I did try one time over
Yeah.
a break and I still hated it, but I think I am going to keep trying it though. I'm going to see if there's a way that it can work for me. I probably just won't try it again until after I move because I'll have a much more spacious shipping situation. Be
Well,
easier to like line things up.
slow ship day. Didn't you try it like on a Monday?
No, I did, but I have tried it on not a Monday since then.
Oh, okay. Well, don't.
So
Okay.
I'm also just stubborn, you know? I mean,
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. It's so helpful though. I feel like I was gonna say something else on that, but I don't remember now. How do I get your book, Anna? Link down below.
yeah, link down below or send me your address, Duncan, as I've mentioned multiple times.
Let's see. 1,000 listings at 57%. I'm so sure. Okay, so about 13% fee. So promoted listing 15%, running a sale 20%. That's almost 50% of your price. That's a lot of lost money. Is that just becoming the norm?
Yeah.
So I will say promoted listings in if you're doing standard, which we both do, it's only on what sells.
Right,
So it's not just like a blanket 15% off of everything.
right.
And like I do trending plus or minus, so it's not always that. But yes, my fees are about 27% right now. Running a 20% off sale. That's
Do you
yeah.
count that in your fee?
No. I think he's just saying like what your price is
Yeah,
at.
right.
Uh, but I think most people who run a sale price it according to running a sale.
Yeah. Well, and also like, I mean, I don't know, 50% of your price, which I guess that means that the other 50% is your gross profit margin, which is incredible. Most
Yeah.
most retail stores do not get 50% of their sale price as their profit margin. So that is a lot, but also like I don't know, if you were in a traditional retail setting, it'd be way different.
Yes. And I was looking at like just small businesses in general, and most small
Yeah.
businesses don't turn a profit for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
But
Up
also,
to 5.
yeah. And their first or they're sitting around like 10%. Like on it was like the high
Right.
percent, right? And so I think we are used to I think part of I don't know, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think some of it is like social media. Obviously, I'm on social media, so I can't say too much about this because I would be dissing myself. But where you see this, oh, I bought this for 99 cents, or I picked this out of the trash, and I like
Yeah.
that's not the norm.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know all the people that do that. Maybe they're running these seller, but most people, most 2 million sellers on eBay are
Mhm.
not getting items for free and flipping them for $200.
Right. That is right. That is not the regular expectation, but I will say, you know, I mean, I'm scrappy. I love to pay almost nothing for stuff. My average cost of goods is like 82 cents an item. Proud of it, love it. But, yeah, if you're selling something and if you're selling something and you're trying to double your money on it and then your fees and all that are taking 50% of your sale price away, that is a problem because then you have like no profit margin. So I mean, that's one of those levers that you can work on as a reseller. Like, okay, well, how can you get your profit margins to be healthier, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If you're just selling stuff around your house and, you know, or you find something at the thrift store that's the overpriced section of the thrift store or whatever, and you're like, oh, I could probably get double for this. Like, that's great. That is the time to consider, but how much am I going to have to promote it? How, you know, like, and all that stuff. Because, yeah. If
Well,
it's 82 cents, it's not that big of a deal. But
well, and there, so Duncan and Tommy are talking about like, oh, it was not the good old days, this, that, and the other. But you also have to remember, like, a lot of it's a saturation of the marketplace.
yeah.
There is, you're talking 5-10 years ago, there was eBay. Like, that was it. There's over 25 platforms that people can sell on.
Yeah.
So your competition just platform to platform is higher. And then you're getting all these, like, Lululemon has their own reselling platform. Louis Vuitton has their own reselling platform. Patagonia, like, all of these companies themselves have their own, like, the competition is getting higher. And I mean, not to get too into school here, but what happens with supply and demand, friends? Like, I'm just waiting for everyone else to fail. That's my strategy.
Yes. Let the market competition. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's see. It is getting slimmer, and I think you guys have to decide if it's worth it or not, though. I don't think it's headed that way, at least for a while.
Yeah.
What's your favorite ways to source?
Wow. I haven't sourced in quite some time. I actually have gone to the thrift store and like bought a handful of things here and a handful of things there, like in the last few months. But I really think my very favorite thing is like the hole in the wall kind of places where maybe you do only come out with a handful of things, but they're like awesome things. Like there's a little place that shall remain nameless near my hometown in the middle of nowhere that their business during the week is that they do estate cleanouts, and then they have a flea market on the weekends, which is really a permanent store that they just open, and they're like, clear out all of the crap that we clean, you know, got paid to clean out of these estates, right? That's just gravy for them because they're paid to clean out stuff, and then they sell the stuff that's worth selling, but they sell it for dirt cheap. And almost never do I go there and not find something for like $5 that I can sell for $100, like every single time, because they have multiple estates worth of stuff new every week, and they're just a volume seller. They're just trying to get it out the door. So that place, that kind of place, is like a diamond in the rough.
Are they gonna? So they have like new inventory every week. Like you can start searching there when you move up there. Like,
oh yeah, girl, I'm planning on it.
Yeah, nice.
I also love like church thrift stores or charity shops, because they usually have whole congregations of very well-dressed people who donate things there for free, and then they sell it for cheaper than Goodwill does. So love those. But probably
we don't really have those here.
Really?
No, we have like one or two. We have like a big chain that's kind of like, it started that way, but it's turned into like a really big chain, and it's actually known more than Goodwill's. Like more people would shop there, but it goes like, so it goes to help people with disabilities, and they like that. It's ARC.
You know what? Is there one in Boulder?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think I went to the Boulder one once when I was there.
I think I have heard that Boulder actually has its own small thrift shop that's pretty good, but most of the shops, it's either a Goodwill or it's ARC.
I was gonna say this one was really big. I don't think it was a Goodwill, but it was like in something that looked like an old grocery store. So it probably was.
Probably it. Yeah.
Amazing.
But then they price high. I mean, it goes back to a good cause, but they price but the Goodwill's worse.
Yeah, ours are not great either. I don't know. They're actually, the Illinois one's a little bit better than the one that's close to me here. But I really also love doing estate sales / like estate auctions online, where you bid on stuff online and you just go pick it all up at once. I find that those are pretty good for either large lots of things that might have like secret hidden nuggets in them, that might be a lot of good bread and butter stuff for like super cheap. Like, for example, I will buy a closet of men's clothes because I see a couple of leather jackets, and one of them is like a pristine leather Harley motorcycle jacket that sells for like $300, and I paid like $10 for a closet full of clothes. I might get rid of most of it, but there's a few things that I can tell from the photos might be really good. So that kind of stuff. And then also just
like, what do you do with the stuff you don't want?
Donate it.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking like all the time that it takes to go through. Because I've been buying closets.
Release it back into the wild.
Yeah, okay.
It is like work, but you know, paying $10 for all of it is like, well, that there you're putting in your sweat equity, I guess. But
Yeah, right.
also things for like things that are not closed though, also in those auctions, sometimes they'll just be like, oh, nobody wants this weird random item. And if you research it and find like, oh, this is actually a really valuable item, just nobody in my area cares about it who's happens to be looking at this 4-day online auction that's local, you know, so you can find some really good higher dollar stuff that way too and pay a little bit for it instead of, you know, at Goodwill it might be $50 and you might get it for $5 or $10 or something like that.
Out of the comfort of your home too, if it's online,
Yes.
right? You can do it, which is a benefit for people who like are doing it as a side hustle and they can only source at night or on weekends or
which
like,
the one I use all the time in Georgia is called maxsold.com and like MAX. But it's not in every state, but it's in a lot of states, especially East Coast.
I like the
thrift store.
Yes, I like the thrift store. I just enjoy it. I grew up thrifting. I grew up in Denver, so I know the thrift stores that I like. I know the staff that I like. And it's just a more enjoyable experience to me than like going to so here it's, well, not here, but it's basically the bins or thrifting for me. Garage sales for women's fashion isn't great. I've tried estate sales, but for like women's clothing, it's really hit or miss. And like you spend all day going to like 5 or 6 and you maybe get, and a lot of it's like vintage. Which I don't like to really,
something you can see online is so much better for that because you can quickly see if there's anything you're interested in. Like,
yeah, that's true. I have however, to Duncan's, I think, fingers crossed, it's been a couple weeks. I'm working with someone who's sending me inventory. So she has a nonprofit and she gets like thrift stores donate stuff to her. She like buys like she has so much stuff. And she goes through and gives it to people who need it. You know, so like if as a whole, you know, she's like, people need things, even if they have a small little tear or stain or so she goes through all of the stuff anyway, but then other stuff, you know, she's like, I know what you like. I will pick items for you out of what I'm getting. And then, so it's been working out because it's been delightful. It shows up on my doorstep once a week and I can take photos and then I can thrift when I want.
Needed. Yeah. I was going to say for clothing, thrift store is my favorite too. I just don't focus exclusively on clothing. So I will go to a thrift store anytime, any day, because I just love doing that. But yeah, if I'm trying to like, you know, supply my photographer with enough items, like I'm not just going to go to a thrift store probably.
Yeah. And that's part of my struggle too with going to the bins is you don't know. It could be a good day and it could be a crap day.
It could be a bust. Yeah.
And you're spending the same amount of time. And you can't, like, when I go to the thrift store, I can say, okay, I'm going to go to these 3 categories.
Yeah.
And at the bins, you're just kind of, Sarah's alarm.
It's so overwhelming.
Yes. You guys heard the first alarm.
Yes.
All right. I want to get to a couple. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up before? Because we are popping off at 2:30, probably a few minutes early, even if that's okay. I want to get a coffee before I get the kids.
Do it.
Okay.
Great. Is it too late for coffee? Surely not.
No. Well, I'll get a
decaf. It's fine.
Decaf. Oh yeah, you're 2 hours ahead. Are you at 4?
Yeah.
Do you do calculated or flat rate shipping?
Generally calculated. I did have a policy for a while that was the flat rate envelopes that I will never price wrong again, but it is too complicated for me to choose those, so I just calculate it. Now it's just calculated, and if I can use one of those and I can refund them the difference, sometimes I do if it makes sense to do.
Yeah, and you have such a wide range of items.
Yeah, that's why I'm a blanket girl.
I've heard that calculated is not always right, so I kind of shy away from it. And what I sell and where I sell from makes it very easy to do flat rate. I'm in the middle of the country. I sell either under a pound, jeans that fit in a padded flat rate, and maybe a couple items that are 2 to 3 pounds. So there's like 5 different options, and it's, you know, it's going to cost $4.99 if I do a first class. Like I've kind of figured out 5 different options of what it's going to be. And my virtual assistants know it. And so I do flat rate for the ease of
Yeah.
listings for me and also for the buyers. But I think I'm able to do that because of what I sell and because I'm in Colorado.
If you count free shipping as flat rate shipping, then 80% of my store has flat rate shipping, because in that case, it's kind of the same. It's a
Yeah.
little bit more of a range, but anything that's, under a pound, like the most it's going to cost me is $6.28. So I just build the cost in on those things and, don't charge the buyer.
So I think that does, because that's, I mean, you're essentially doing the same thing. You're just covering it.
Yeah.
So Duncan's saying flat rate for lighter items. What I would say too is look at the categories that you sell in, because you want to do what your competition is doing. If everybody,
look at your quality listings report.
yes, that too.
But
Like look up your item, and if everyone is selling a pair of jeans and they're charging $8.99, you probably want to do something around what everyone else is doing, probably a little lower, like do $8.79.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we do have to pop up soon, but I have if you have any more questions, we have about 5 minutes. So I've been thinking about this. As entrepreneurs, or maybe our society, I don't know what it is, and maybe it's just me, but it always feels like there's like a constant pressure, either from ourselves because we're entrepreneurs and we kind of put that pressure on ourselves, or from like exterior or just society in general, of like always having to be like growth mode and doing more and doing better.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of just enjoying not doing
Coasting. Yeah.
right. And so, but then I'm like, am I being, I don't know if lazy is the right word. But I'm like, is my business, like, I don't have this constant, like, go, go, go. I have to do this. I have this new idea. I have to try this. And so then I'm like, well, is my business going to completely combust and fail?
I don't think
Like,
so.
I constantly look at my numbers and I'm like, no, I'm like doing what I normally do, but it's not like this constant, like,
Yeah.
angst, I guess, of like what to do and how to change this and how to, I don't know. I'm just trying to enjoy it, but I think it's more of a philosophical question.
I think here's my philosophical answer to that. I already have it in the can. Growth isn't just about expansion. And I think that we're not exactly in the same spot with our businesses, but I think we are dipping our toes in similar waters where either what you're doing is working so well that there's no need to change it, or probably
but
both.
it feels weird, right?
Right. Or because you're like, well, when am I going to wake up and realize, oh my gosh, it's not working and I wasn't paying attention anymore and blah, blah. Like, but I also think there are, like, it's nuanced, right? It's like we're streamlining things. You're finding a sourcer, you're eliminating pain points. Like, instead of expanding out, it's like you're tending to what's already here with like greater nuance, greater attention to detail, getting your processes better, making things teachable. And the way that you are growing is reaching out to others, which I think is a natural extension of when your house is in order, then you can reach out to others, like with all the stuff that you're doing on social and on here and everything like that. It's like you aren't necessarily just like in some kind of grind where you're just trying to build a bigger and bigger and bigger business. It's still growth, but it's not necessarily expansion. If that makes sense.
No, I like that answer, because I'm like, you see all these people and it's like, do I need to make my store bigger? And I'm like, I don't want to have a storage unit. I don't like,
right.
It's all
me neither.
Yeah. And nothing against big stores.
Get rid of mine.
Nothing against big stores, but it's just like this. And I think, I mean, I like what you said too, and it's becoming more efficient. So I'm thinking like social media, YouTube videos. It used to take me 5 or 6 hours to do one YouTube video.
Girl.
And now I'm at 4 years into it. I can crank out a YouTube video in 30 minutes.
Exactly.
And so like
per hour.
right. And my virtual assistant helps me as well. So, I'm paying someone else to help, but like, I'm not learning it anymore. I know the buttons to click. I know like how it all works. And, so I think it's just being more efficient. I've been reading more, and then I like start to feel guilty that which is terrible because I love reading, but I'm like, should I be doing something more productive?
Yeah, you're like, I'm not working right now. But it's like you're gonna feel like that because you're at a new stage. But it makes me think of like tattoos. I do have a bunch of working on a sleeve on this arm, right? So I have a lot of tattoos. But I think about like, okay, if you look at any one of these, they all have their outer limits, right? And it's like the artist who does them, he goes and he does the outline first, and then, you know, to make it better, to do more of the tattoo, he's not going to just keep going out and out and out. He's going to turn his attention inward and do the shading and do the coloring and like get all the details, you know, into the middle and make it all come together and make it all work. And that's still part of the process, you know.
Yeah, I like it. See, this is where I like ending these. I knew you.
Boom! I was ready today. My last brain cell hung in there for you.
All right, guys, we are going to be here next week. Do not miss us or check the repeat or the replay. We're going to have Yinka on and Lori. They work with eBay's government relations, so they are in Washington lobbying on our part to help whatever is happening right. This is why we're having them, because I don't know.
However it affects small business, because eBay is a bunch of small businesses.
Yes, and they are working very hard on our part, and I want you guys to be aware of possible risks that they're up against, because if laws do go through, they could impact us, and we should know about it. So definitely make sure to hit that notification for next week. Have a wonderful week. Thanks, Anna.
You're welcome. I'll see you later.
You guys.